Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is willspalding, and as always, I'm joined by that really old dude that sits on the beach, sjdierberger. Sam, what's up? That's who you are this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been here on the beach for somewhere between a day and 50 years. I'm not sure.
You can't tell.
You really can't tell. I stepped onto this beach as a 20-year-old, and now I'm, 70. So
yeah, that's true. You did.
But oddly, despite the weird minerals that are surrounding me that are causing my cells to age rapidly, the Wi-Fi signal's decent out here.
Oh, it's good. It's real good. Yeah, they like to treat you while you're there. So
it is a resort.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we've already spoiled it. I feel like with this new bit I'm doing, we're going to be spoiling it a lot sooner every week.
Yeah.
But so what do we have? What do we have rocking this week, Sam? What's the movie of the week?
This week we're rocking M. Night Shyamalan's Old.
No kids allowed on the beach? What? No!
We never leave each other. Nothing separates us. Are we there yet? You said 5 minutes. Technically, it's been more than 5 minutes.
Let's just all start slowing down.
Well, Sam, M. Night Shyamalan's Old. I think there's a decent conversation surrounding this one. But even I think I'm more excited. A lot of industry news went down this week, and I'm excited. I'm more excited to talk about that with you, Sam.
That's right. There's been a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have actual things to talk about. I have 3, and then you mentioned one before we started recording, and I was like, 4. Do you have anything else other than that one? Or do we have 4?
Not particularly, but if I go looking, I'll find more. So we might as well leave it at that, right?
True. Well, you start off with yours, because I think this one might be the most interesting.
Yeah. So we have, the story is a little murky at this point. We don't have all the details. We don't like to speculate, but we're going to speculate anyway. Scarlett Johansson.
Johansson.
Someone named Scarlett Johansson. Johansson.
Yeah.
Some kind of actress. Apparently, she's an actress. Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for something, for copyright or contract breachment, I suppose. Because this movie that no one has heard of, that's apparently out right now, it's called Black Widow.
No, not aware. Yeah.
I assume it's about a wife who murders her husband. I don't know. Black Widow is streaming on Disney Plus, and according to this lawsuit, Scarlett is alleging that Disney breached her contract with releasing this digitally, along with a theater release on Disney Plus. What do we make of this, Will?
Well, so from what I understand, when this movie was made 2 decades ago, because COVID lasted 2 decades, her contract said that a lot of her earnings for this movie would not be base pay. It would be based on how the movie does at the box office. So I think it had been something like 2% of box office earnings, or maybe it was 1.5% or something to that nature. And in a normal world, that'd be a lot of money. And even in a COVID world, if that were the case, and let's say it is 1.5%, and not as many people go out to see it because of the COVID world and Disney Plus, it being released on Disney Plus, I would still say, oh, that really stinks, Scarlett. That sucks that you're not going to get all the money that you likely would have gotten. However, I say that all to say that it also said there was another clause in her contract that said this can only be released in theaters. So she is suing for that reason. That it was released digitally, like you said.
Yeah.
When her contract stipulated it would be released solely in theaters. I think I don't super care about this particular case because I think she'll get her money. I assume, maybe I could be wrong. I assume Disney will just kind of say, oh, okay, here's your money, whatever. But maybe they won't. Maybe they won't give her an extra 20
Right.
million. I don't know. What really interests me is what this can mean for contracts moving forward and how people get paid. Will people get paid based on streaming numbers? I think that could be really interesting. I don't know. What do you think about all this, Sam? My thought for this is I just hope she gets her money and then we can kind of look for the future. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, this goes back to a larger question, which is wondering out loud. It's hard for it's difficult for streaming studios, streaming companies to measure how a movie does when they release a new film, right? Because you can measure it by new subscribers, but there's not, in most cases there's not a whole lot of evidence that one singular release is what's bringing people in to become new subscribers, new members of the service.
Right.
So I mean that's the first question. Secondly, in terms of Scarlett, it's like, look, I mean, she's the highest paid actress in Hollywood, or at least was in 2019, I believe, by the last estimate. If anyone can get away with suing Disney, it's probably her. Yeah. And this is not, some heroic action standing up for, the actors of the industry. This is just her trying to recover the money she was promised, which I'm fine with. I just think it's interesting that this is getting blown to such a proportion. I mean, it seems like kind of a private matter just between Scarlett and her employer. And it's not like she's specifically tied to Disney. I mean, that's obviously a huge piece of her income as an actress, playing Black Widow, but it's, she's a very capable actress and she's been in a lot of different things. Right. And that's not the only franchise she's tied to. So, I mean, it's a relatively small piece of her overall portfolio, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. I think this will get resolved pretty quickly. I'm surprised. I don't, again, believe it or not, we don't have any insider information. We really don't. We should.
No, it's disappointing.
But we don't. I'm surprised, and maybe she did. I'm surprised she didn't go to Disney, not made it media available. I don't know. I feel like this could have been resolved without public knowledge, but maybe she tried and Disney said, no, we don't want to give you your money. And then essentially she just said, okay, then I'll sue, whatever. I don't know. I don't know how any of this went down, but yeah, I think it could be resolved quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something out of court.
Right. Yeah. At least I hope. I don't know. Come on, Disney, just pay her. Who cares? What's 20 million? That's like Sam and I rubbing 2 pennies together. Seriously, which, by the way, we have way more than 2 pennies. I mean, we make.
Let's just be clear here. We're not giving them to the interns, though. That's
for darn sure. No, they're unpaid.
No, they will not see a penny.
No.
So yeah, that's that news. You have 3 pieces of
Yeah,
insider information
I do.
to hit us with.
I think they'll all be pretty quick. But first, Sam, I just have to say, we're thinking about Bob Odenkirk. We are hoping that he gets better.
Please, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. I know, but it was very shocking to learn he had a heart attack on set of Better Call Saul. And we're hoping for a swift and speedy recovery, Mr. Odenkirk.
Well, it's all those stunts he did on the set of Nobody. I mean,
He's a
the
little
man's
broke.
over 60 years old now.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you can't keep burning the candle at both ends like that and filming out in the deserts of Albuquerque. I mean, you're just tempting fate there. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm obviously a huge fan of Bob Odenkirk. And it sounds like he's doing fine.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to worry. Of course, that's very scary. But he'll be done soon. I mean, they're filming the last season of Better Call Saul as we speak, and then he can move on to more comfortable projects. So, yeah.
Good.
It almost gave me a heart attack when I read the headline.
True. Yeah.
Because there was this period for like 5 to 10 hours where we didn't know what was going on. We just knew that Bob Odenkirk collapsed.
Yeah, and was sent to the hospital. Yeah, I was like, what is going on right now?
And we're like, no.
Yeah. I figured he was
fine,
fine, but it was
it was a little scary.
Yeah, for sure.
His son tweeted out that he's okay. So,
well, we're hoping and wishing for a speedy recovery.
That's right.
All right. So, Sam, we have some horror movie news, and that is a new Exorcist trilogy.
Whoa.
That's pretty bold to be calling that shot that early. From Blumhouse Productions, starring Leslie Odom Jr. alongside Ellen Bernstein. First of all, Sam, I have 2 questions. What are your thoughts on Exorcist property period plus this new reboot, and then your thoughts on 3 movies? Right after we're going for 3. Screw 1. Don't even think about 2. We're doing 3.
I saw the Exorcist when I was probably too young to see the Exorcist, and
you loved it. And
yeah, I mean,
you really
it was as traumatizing. It was as traumatizing as anything,
right?
You're gonna run into. I mean, listen, as someone who is fascinated with demonic possession as much as anyone is fascinated with demonic.
That's our side job.
I mean, it's. Oh yeah, me. I mean, it's just a hobby, really. I hardly get paid. I mean, I'm doing the Lord's work, so
it's true. That's what your business card says.
It just says the Lord's work. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously a fascinating topic. The Exorcist is, if not, one of the best movies ever made, certainly one of the more influential horror movies, I suppose, ever made. And yeah, I mean, this should be interesting. Leslie Odom Jr. Again, we're seeing him break out of those distinctly musical roles. Right. I mean, unless he's going to break out in song in the middle of this thing. Well, presumably his daughter is going to be possessed, and he just like sings like some gospel hymn. I could see them throwing that in there just because. But yeah. So, hey, I think that's I'm on board. I think it's interesting that they're going to go ahead and go for a trilogy right away. That's
yeah, absolutely.
It's quite something ambitious. So yeah, we're excited about this, right?
Yeah, I would think so. You know, I've seen The Exorcist as well, and I think it's a good film. You know, it's maybe a bit outdated in some aspects. So I think modern filmmaking could definitely serve it a purpose, and I think this could be pretty cool. It sometimes concerns me when movies just say, "Yep, we're doing 3." I don't know. That can be kind of concerning. If the first one stinks, then what are we doing? I'd like to think they have kind of an overarching story for all 3, so it's a coherent trilogy that makes sense. I would hope that's the case. So,
Yeah.
So we'll be excited for the first and see for the second and third.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting piece of news. And all right, what was the last thing then?
Last one's gonna be really quick because we really don't know. We really don't know much other than Jordan Peele's 3rd directorial debut was announced, Sam.
Okay.
Right. And it's called Nope, Nope. That's literally all we know. Well, I can give some casting news. Cool poster, by the way, for now.
Yeah.
But so some casting news is Daniel Kaluuya, and I think we've talked about that before. What an actor. Stephen Yen, who was great in Minari. And yeah, so those 2 guys leading the next Jordan Peele film, which is cool.
Yeah.
So all I think this was a title announcement because I think we knew about Kaluuya beforehand.
Principal photography began last month, June 7th, and he has a poster out already and the film's title. So, and that was released last week on the 22nd. So, I mean, that's pretty quick for something that is still in production, I guess.
Yeah.
And it'll be released July 22nd, 2022. 22.
So we're literally almost a year out, a little less than a year.
Yeah, which is too long to wait. Although the Candyman will satisfy me for the time being.
Yeah.
So this is all very exciting.
And it's listed as a mystery horror. Mystery first, then horror. So that interests me too. I mean, Get Out and Us I guess you were kind of putting the pieces together, but I wouldn't necessarily call them mysteries, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
I agree. That'll be cool. We're excited, Jordan. We're excited.
Don't disappoint us.
Also, don't disappoint us. We will come to you for you. So, all right, Sam. That's all I had. Unless you have any other industry news.
No, I think we should get into it.
All right, let's go.
What happened to her mom?
I don't know. What happened to her? Body has decomposed.
How quickly can that happen?
7 years.
But she just died.
Wait, where are the kids?
Front!
Kara!
Come here!
Hey, have you seen my children?
Mom? I'm right here.
Old from M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong. I think that's how you pronounce it. Man, Sam, I don't know your anticipations for this movie, but for me, this kind of, not that I just learned about this last week, but this kind of sprung up on me a couple months ago when I realized that M. Night was having another movie. I was kind of like, oh, I didn't even know this was going on.
Right.
And it was a pleasant kind of, and this is coming out this summer. Wow, this is a pleasant surprise.
Right. Yeah.
Is that kind of your light background to it as well, or were you anticipating this?
Yeah. I had heard about. I had been hearing about it for a while, but I didn't like you. I didn't fully process that it was M. Night Shyamalan writing and directing, back to his old tricks and everything. So, I mean, that's a pleasant surprise. Actually, interestingly, this movie was originally slated to be released in like February of this year.
Interesting.
Which I
think
wouldn't
Summer
have
does
been
it
such
well.
a yeah, I wouldn't have been much of a fan of, just because this is a nice like summer thriller, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
It's on a beach, in case you haven't heard. So it's set on a beach, and it's got this kind of just fun, quick hitting atmosphere to it that I don't think I would have liked to see, or really wouldn't have been feeling back in February. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Absolutely. It feels fitting for this time of year.
Yeah, yeah. And seeing it in a theater,
Oh, that was necessary.
gives you that classic old feeling of a nice summer
Yeah.
blockbuster. The theater was pretty full. People are coming out to see this movie, which is
Good.
pretty
Really good.
encouraging.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were kind of that was kind of my anticipation for this movie.
Yeah. There's always a certain level of excitement for an M. Night movie. I mean, he's obviously very up and down, not consistent in the slightest. He's consistently inconsistent, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So, this going into this movie, I'm thinking I try to stay away from reviews and all sorts of things like that, just so I kind of went in with my own thoughts, so they're fresh. And
Yeah.
I'm walking in the theater. I'm thinking this could either be really great, could be kind of mainstream, or it could be a dumpster fire, which is pretty crazy, because I don't walk into many movies thinking that. Where it could have hit literally any star rating or nearly. So I guess that's also refreshing. I really did not know what to expect from this, which was good. And my overall, I'll just get into a little bit of my general thoughts, is that I think this is a well-crafted movie. I think M. Night really knew what he wanted with this, story-wise and structure-wise, and how he wanted it to look and feel. In terms of, and I think this, after exiting the theater and reading some reviews, I think this is kind of the general consensus. So this isn't an original thought or anything, but I think the dialogue's pretty clunky at parts, and gosh, it feels like Shyamalan doesn't know how to get a performance out of anybody. But for the most part, I was happy with what I saw. What are your general thoughts, Sam?
I think they're darn near identical to yours. I mean,
okay, great.
There were some serious issues with the dialogue that
it's pretty
really sort of bothered me, and some of the delivery from these actors. We had several actors that sort of had these accents, and I mean,
wasn't really sure what was going on, to be honest, with the accents.
Yeah, but we're made to think this is like, a standard American family. Like the accents are never quite explained.
Yeah.
That's not a knock on the actors. I'm just saying, it's casting wise, it doesn't make sense to cast someone who you're supposed to. It's obvious that as an audience, we're supposed to just sort of file them away as a standard American family. And yet we have like two parents with the mom has a European accent and the dad has a Hispanic accent. And it's like, it's like, well, because that got me wondering, like, how did these two meet? Like, where did they meet? Like, what's their story? And we're not supposed to be paying attention to that. We're supposed to be paying attention to, they're just an everyday family and they just went on this vacation to this resort, So I'm like, where is that marital strain coming from?
Who are these people?
Yeah. So that was kind of obnoxious. And then to actually knock on the actors, the accents aren't a knock on the actors. Their delivery at certain points is quite
it's rough.
Questionable.
I saw some people praising some of the performances, and I just thought, oh boy, I don't know what in there. I mean, our two young leads, Alex Wolff, who's been really good in some movies, Hereditary, and then gosh, I can't remember the main girl's name now. Shoot, let me look real quick. Dead Air. Thomasin McKenzie, that's her name. She's, she was pretty good in Jojo Rabbit, and I thought they were both okay in this. I think M. Night can't direct a performance, which also does not help the actors. I understand.
Right.
M. Night's got to help him out a little bit, and I don't think he did much here. But I thought they were okay, but everyone else is pretty not great. And even them, they're not awesome either. And I saw some people praising performances, and I didn't see it, but I guess I'm glad to hear that I'm not alone with that take.
No, and I would like to point out too, like the way this script is manufactured, it's like you would need some excellent actors to really pull this off well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult. You have, it's one of those films where you have several different actors playing the same character, and that's always hard. And just the quick pace of the movie, that's a lot to draw an audience into. So I mean, I'm not blaming the actors. It's not like they gave a terrible performance.
Right.
It's just they gave an average performance for a script that demanded excellence. Is probably how I would put it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's actually transition into the script a little bit too. So dialogue wise, I think we're kind of in agreement that it's subpar. But I think in terms of building the story, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. What'd you think? And the way it's able to allow the suspense to also build. I don't know. What are your thoughts in terms of that?
No, I'm on board with that. I think it's a very competently written script. I think this balances a lot, man. It's not easy to write something that's this complex in a relatively short runtime. I mean, this movie wasn't even long either. It was
that was nice. That was a good hour. 40.
What was it? 100 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's 103 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I mean,
108, I guess. Okay.
So I mean, it's it's obviously difficult to write something like this. It was one of those films where I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, I wonder what this looks like on the page, with all the action that's going on, balanced with the dialogue. Because you have many different things going on at once. You're following multiple characters, but you're in the same location.
If I were to guess, Sam, we're both going to come here and praise this movie in some parts, and we will kind of dog on it a little bit, but we'll end up giving it decent star ratings, I think. And if I were to read this on the page, I bet it's awful. I bet it's
right.
Really
yeah.
Because so much of what Shyamalan does is very visual, and he's so good at showing us something and giving us little bits at a time. That's one of his signatures, and he does that so well in The Sixth Sense, and I think he does it well here too. And a lot of that is to do with visuals, and then letting it simmer, and that doesn't translate to a page. So
no, of course not. And well, that's almost why you need Shyamalan writing and directing.
Yeah,
that's the thing about him, is like only he can make sense of his own
words.
Only he really knows what he wants. If you tasked a screenwriter to write this, because this, interestingly enough, I don't know if you knew this was based on a graphic novel.
I saw that at the I didn't know that going in, but I saw that at the end of the credits. It said based on the graphic novel Sandcastle, I think it was called.
Oh, that's a better title, actually. Sandcastle. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that title better.
I didn't know that going in, but it was interesting.
Yeah, I think Shyamalan's kid gave it to him.
And
he read it, and he was pretty enamored by it, and he decided to buy the rights. So that's cool.
That is cool.
It's interesting that Shyamalan wanted to do something that was adapted.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like his deal, but
but I mean, it does fit nicely into his catalog. You know, it's
Yeah.
we have a similar story structure. We have, you know, it's a thriller. It's got a semi twist at the end.
We'll get into that a lot, I think.
We'll get into
that. Might be
that.
the majority of the conversation.
Yeah, we'll get into that, which I felt was less of a twist and more of just like an explanation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so there's that.
I do, Sam, want to talk about how did the overall, like, and I know this is a graphic novel, so I guess we're almost reviewing the graphic novel then or something, but how does the effect of this beach ages people, and they say 30 minutes equals a year, and then we're all aging super fast. How does that effect work for you? For me, it was awesome. Like I thought, holy crap, this is like, I feel like it had real stakes and was super intense. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment, it's very emotionally battering. You know, it's yeah, that's a lot to take in. After the fact, you're like, whoa, that moved pretty quick, and that's pretty absurd. Because it's such a, you know, such a wild concept to wrap your head around.
Oh, sure.
And the movie goes so quick. It's just boom, 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 boom. And then you by the end, you're like, you think back to the beginning and you're like, was that the same, you know, was that the same movie? That's quite an outcome, which I suppose is a strength of the movie in that it's able to lure you in and you kind of follow the story. And
yeah.
But retrospectively, you look at it and you're just kind of you're like, that's quite a concept, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll argue that I like that it was fast. I mean, these characters are feeling like their life is slipping through their fingers, which it is really.
Yeah.
And I quite like that. One other question I will ask you on the general concept. So they can't leave the beach.
Mm-hmm.
We're explained that essentially they can't leave because it'd be too tough of an adjustment for their bodies to go from aging a year every 30 minutes to aging a year every year. So their bodies can't leave; they black out. How did that work for you? Is that kind of lame, or what were you thinking when they explained that?
Yeah, well, I was kind of, because then my first thought was, of course, how come they didn't experience some sort of reaction when they got onto the beach in the first place?
I thought that instantly too. Yeah.
I'm like, because if you're going from normal aging to aging a year every 30 minutes, like that's got to be quite a reaction too, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's one of those things that I think Shyamalan knows, and he's just like, that's not convenient for the plot line. Let's just keep going.
I think that's a great word for it, convenient. And I think it goes both ways. It's like, well, it has to be convenient for them to get there. And it's like, okay, so we're here. Well, they're aging quick. Why not just leave?
Right.
Well, they can't. They can't leave. Okay, why can't they leave? I don't really know. There's a force field. So I think you're right. It's just convenient. We need them to stay here is essentially it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you too, like, what do you think in terms of setting it on a beach? You know, this is one of those movies, and we've talked about this before, like, we both are big fans of movies that take place in kind of one location with some sort of isolation going on. Do you think that it was significant that this took place on a beach? It really could have taken place anywhere. It could have taken place in a room. It could have taken place in a airplane, you know, anywhere. Why a beach?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you could have edited the story just slightly on how they get to their location where they age quickly, but it could have been anywhere. Why a beach? I think it kind of serves a purpose where they're going to this beach to have fun, and we kind of have that transition of fun to fright really quickly because we can't leave and people are dead. So I think it kind of plays in that sense. but there's a lot of places where you could be going to have fun. So I don't know why a beach necessarily, but I think it plays well that there's the change in mood. You think of a beach as a great place, and then it switches pretty quickly to a place of death or something. So, but again, it could have been anywhere.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. I mean, there's something about the idealism of a beach. You do it to get away. You get it. You do it to kind of like stop time, step out of time, and then, ironically, this is the fastest time of your life, literally. But I was just kind of annoyed that they didn't play up the fact that it's on a beach more. It's maybe this movie could have actually been longer.
Oh, interesting.
It could have. There a little bit more potential there. Right?
You heard it. Sam wants the director's cut. Release the director's cut.
I want the director's cut of Old. When is this coming out? And also, on a similar note, this is my main criticism of the film, is that I don't think we see enough of the characters reflecting on their own mortality. There's less of it's less humanized, and perhaps in line with the point of the film, maybe the point is that, we have to think about them as, subjects, less as humans and more as subjects. But I want to see that human aspect of them. You're on a beach and you're going to die within 24 hours. How are you reacting?
Yeah, I think in some aspects, I think Shyamalan does that well with the human experiment. I mean, they're definitely trying to get off the island, which is something you would do. Probably not as much emotions as there would normally be. I expect there to be a lot of crying, and I don't know if there's any. There might not have been any. And I think what you might be hinting at is towards the end, this family almost accepts it. It seems they're in acceptance mode. And especially our two leads. And we'll transition here into the ending, I suppose. So I guess spoilers for Old. Our two leads almost seem acceptance of their fate, and maybe that comes with we're the only two left. Everyone else has died.
Right.
I guess we'll just kind of hang out. I don't know. I actually thought about this myself as I was in the theater. How would I be reacting?
Mm-hmm.
I'd definitely be trying to get off. I think to a point you might come to the conclusion of acceptance, but I don't know. I've never been in a situation such as this one presented for us. But Sam,
are you sure about that? Really? You haven't experienced a beach that causes you to age rapidly?
I don't think so. Not that one I remember.
Wow.
But I don't know what.
Dude, you're missing out.
I've heard they're great. Great. What do you think? What could Shyamalan have done differently?
I think we would like to get to know our characters a little better. I mean, we kind of have this sort of these uneven perceptions of our characters. We have the doctor who, which I actually liked this about the movie, is ironically the doctor, the one you look to in situations like this to help prevent your aging. He turns out to be an early onset schizophrenic, which is kind of funny, I think. So that was kind of funny. I mean, darkly funny. He was also like a teensy bit racist for even like pretty blatantly racist, and that was kind of like a whoa, where did that come from? Like, you can't just blame the schizophrenia for that. Like
the whole movie. I mean, he started out racist and he finished. One thing I will say, Sam, is I thought we did have a large, a decent amount of variety in our characters, which I also appreciated. I think this could also very easily get lost in, we kind of have 4 of the same characters, and then, there's 3 types of characters and we have like 4 of each. I felt like each character kind of had their own shtick. They were all doing something.
Yeah. Right.
We didn't really have many wasted characters. And not that I'll say that the characters couldn't have been used better, because they probably could have. They could have done more with characters, as you were saying. But I didn't think anyone was like, wow, we have like 3 of the same guy that's just doing this, like reacting the same way, and he does the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right. No, totally.
But should we transition into the ending, Sam?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So this whole time we can kind of see camera flashes, and we know somebody's watching them. So we as the audience are trying to piece this together a little bit. And essentially, when these our two leads, they figure out a way to get out, swim through the coral, fine, whatever. A little weird, but okay, fine.
I actually had a pretty big problem with that. Like that is kind of like definitionally Deus Ex Machina, God from the machine, like just solution.
Yeah, I know you're exactly right. It's very plot devicey, Ex Machina. You're right. I just kind of swept it under the rug and said, I guess it's whatever. It's another one of those convenience things. That essentially they get out, but it doesn't look like it. And real quick, Sam, M. Night Shyamalan's character, this dude he can't not be in his movies. He's like Tarantino. He needs to be a character.
But you could have had any, like, he plays the most, he could have had so much complexity to the character he's playing, and his character is so, like, just...
He's a bored. Yeah, he does nothing. Yeah.
He's just like, I drive, and then I watch them age.
Yeah. That's all I do. So he's watching them, and essentially is telephoning someone we do not know, radioing someone.
Yeah.
He says, "Yep, they're all dead. Trial 83 or whatever."
Yeah.
And we cut back, and it's the original hotel manager, and they're in a lab studying something, and he comes out and says, "Let's have a moment of silence." Blah blah blah. And essentially, we find out that they are sending people to this island. So the wrong thing, but they're doing it for the right reason or whatever, by sending people that have illnesses, and they're using a lifetime to test drugs, and it works in this case. Whatever.
Right.
Sam, I've been seeing a lot of complaints about the ending. I've even been seeing some people saying they're confused about the ending. I don't get that at all. I wasn't confused as to what was happening whatsoever.
No, totally.
And I suppose this is the twist / explanation you were talking about earlier. How did this whole ending work for you?
Yeah, well, I thought it was less of a twist and more of an explanation. Like, it's not.
I'll agree with you.
You're like, it's not like The Sixth Sense. It's not like The Village, where we're just like, whoa, like everything spins on its face.
Yeah.
We don't re-perceive the entire movie, right?
Correct. I think we're calling it a twist because it's M. Night Shyamalan. I think if this were any other movie, we'd just be like, okay, here's the continuation of the story or whatever.
Right.
Since it's Shyamalan, we're like, oh, here's the twist. Yeah. But continue.
Yeah, it's just solving the mystery, right? It's not changing our entire perception of the movie. Which I thought it worked well. I mean, it makes sense. It kind of it's I like any explanation about a diabolical scheme like that. And it's actually, an interesting utilitarian question, because it's like, they say explicitly, people die, but they're saving millions and millions of people with these drugs by making sure these drugs work. And I've always thought about that. I'm like, clinical trials take forever. They can take lifetimes. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just see the results in a day? I've actually thought that before. So this movie kind of nicely filled in the blank for that. So that was good. My problem actually is I'd rather have the movie end right there. I'd rather just have these trials continue without them being busted, and just take out the whole Coral thing and the two escaping, and confronting them and calling the police. I mean, that whole sequence was really, really quick. And it was like, the police are just like, okay. Like, the police are like, oh, we have one of these. All right, yeah. A 50-year-old man who was 6 years old yesterday is calling us about to report this scheme at a resort. Like,
right.
So I would rather just take that all out and just have it end with this ominous, like, ooh, you could be next. Like, next time you go to a resort, like that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I kind of thought the same thing. Not at that moment at the end, but when they're on the island, I had a thought. I'm like, at the point where we knew what was happening, where everyone was aging and people were starting to die off, and I kind of told myself, I'm like, I kind of want not that I was just like wanted people to die, but I'm like, I feel like this story serves best if every character does die here. I don't really want them to escape the island. I just thought that wouldn't be I thought it would have been better if they didn't, because I thought that would have been a better progression of the story. And then obviously we could get rid of the whole Coral deal too, which was slightly weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I also kind of liked that I don't know, all too often we see this kind of movie, Sam, and then we see it's like, oh, the big business is just doing it to do it because they're evil. And in this case, it's like, no, they're doing it. I mean, obviously they killed however many, 12, 10 to 15. I don't even know how many characters there were. 10 to 15 people, and we're sorry we did it, but we're doing it for this reason. I kind of was like, oh, okay. I mean, this is different. They're doing something different. This isn't just like business kills people because
right.
Which I appreciated, actually. I did appreciate that. Yeah. And I'll agree with you. I probably wouldn't have had the whole now he busted them, which, by the way, oh gosh, so I thought it was kind of a funny bit when these little kids are going up to people and just asking name and occupation. And then how it was used at the end, I was cringing. I was like, oh gosh, that's just,
yeah, I can't believe that came back. I had forgotten about that. And then they just brought it right back.
That's I thought it was a funny bit as just kind of a character thing for this kid who's just kind of a goofy kid who just asks people what their occupation is. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then they bring it back as to, he asked a police officer what his occupation was. And the police officer says, I'm a police officer. And he sends it to him. I just thought, oh my gosh, that's just, I don't know, man. I thought that was... Yeah,
I mean, a second point on this, I also love that, like, the resort still is, like, this fully functional resort. Like, there are still people there that don't go to the beach. They just... they're just hanging out there, which is kind of funny to think about. But, yeah, it's just... I'd rather they didn't get busted. I'd rather we just... let the experiments go on. And this is something I'd rather that everyone died on the beach, because you can do something really powerful here thematically. You can make the theme of the movie be that, life is short no matter what. No matter if you're aging in one day or 70 years, it doesn't matter. Death is the great equalizer, and we could have our characters come to realize that, like, it's going to happen eventually, and if this is my fate, let it happen.
And it's going to happen, right? I thought the same thing. I thought the story would have served better if they had all had died on the beach. That's not what we got, which it is what it is. This is a previous source material as well. I know he could have changed it, but or maybe he did change it to this. I don't know. I haven't read Sandcastle graphic novel. So, Sam, that's really all the thoughts I have. Do you have any, closing wrap up thoughts, or do you have any additional ones?
My other question, this is kind of funny. My other question is, what do you charge these people with? Because technically speaking, all these people died of natural causes.
Good question, man. I haven't even thought of that.
They didn't kill anyone.
Send people to their deaths knowingly. Is that considered murder? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question.
Yeah. They'd be charged for non-FDA approved means for curating drugs.
I suppose so. I suppose there's.
I don't know. That's a funny issue. I'll have to think about that.
I want to go to like a press junket for this movie and ask M. Night that.
Yeah, what are they being charged for? Right.
What are they being charged for?
Oh, one more thing, Sam. I know I've talked about this for. I said this in a quiet place, and I told this to my mom as well. I was saying, like, one thing I love about COVID movies is I, for whatever reason, really like the director of the movie just coming on for 15 seconds before the movie starts and just kind of saying, "Hey, what's up? Here's my movie."
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really enjoy that. I want it to continue. I don't want them to just mention COVID every time and welcome back to the theater.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of say, like, "Hey, what's up? I'm M. Night Shyamalan. I had a blast making my movie and doing this, and this. I really hope you enjoy it." I don't know. I think it feels, not that M. Night is speaking to me and you, but it feels like a personal kind of like, "Hey, I hope you enjoy." I think it's cool. I hope it continues. I really do.
No, it gives that nice personal touch, and it also kind of has this, you feel this sense of pride from the director. Like, it's like, not only am I attaching my name to this, I'm going to introduce it. Like I'm proud of what I've made, and I hope you enjoy it. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
we should keep that going.
Agreed. Last thing, Sam. We're gonna give our star ratings here. What do you think of this movie kind of getting mixed reviews? Does that shock you, or are you like, yeah, that makes sense?
I mean, it's Shyamalan, and yeah, I mean, that's just happened. I think the casual viewer is gonna really, really enjoy this. They're gonna go out to the theater and have a great time.
It's sitting dead even at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how you can see this, and I guess maybe just the acting. I see this and think this would be a 80% Rotten Tomato deal, and most critics are going to be like, yeah, 6 out of 10 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm with you on that.
I guess I would have been wrong. So without further ado, I suppose, as we're mentoring 6 out of 10s, Sam, what's your star rating here?
I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. I think it's a well-made movie, as we've established, but not without its problems. So I had a good time with it. I think everyone should go see it, especially for a night at the theater. I think it works really well. So 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. 3 out of 5. I think it's pretty a well-paced thriller. That's quite a great deal of fun, really, and it feels very like a summer movie horror type deal. So I thought it was really cool, and I think for what it is, it accomplishes a lot.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, with a few bumps in the road, I understand that, but
sure.
Yeah, I thought this was really quite good. So there we go, Sam. Next week, Sam, we have David Lowery's A24's The Green Knight. I'm really excited for that.
Yes. Yes.
Super awesome. We're getting pumped. That'll be great. But for now, Sam, recommendations.
Recomendaciones.
Do you have?
I think I'm gonna. I can jump right in if you want me to.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
So I'm almost through season 1 of a show called The Sopranos.
I haven't heard of it. Never.
And I man,
Did it just come out?
I used to say it just came out this year. It's new. You wouldn't know. I don't watch a lot of TV, but man, I used to say Better Call Saul was the greatest television show ever made, and it's like The Sopranos is just a different breed. The Sopranos is a true television show in that there is some underlying continuing storylines, but really fundamentally it is about situations in each episode. Like you have the same characters, but a new situation arises.
Yeah,
they can be watched out of order, you know. And yeah, it's just phenomenal. It's just cinematic in scope.
Good. I've heard that most modern drama TV shows have everything to thank for The Sopranos. So that's great hearing you say that The Sopranos is on a different level. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, really, we have Tony Soprano, played by James Gandolfini, is really the first anti-hero protagonist in television history. Like before Walter White, there was Tony Soprano.
Cool.
No other TV show really did that. So it's phenomenal. It's taking up way too much of my time right now, but way too much. It's eating away at my movie watching. But yeah, check out The Sopranos.
Cool. Well, I for the past week have just been catching up on all my 2021 movies that I've missed over so far this year. So it's been kind of a slog. I've had some decent ones, but some rough ones too. So I'm not going to recommend any movies because it wouldn't feel right. But
right, sure.
An additional podcast to continue my 3-part series of podcasts produced by Q Code. This one,
right,
being titled Borascus, which I'll spell it out because it's a tough word. The only reason I don't even know how to say it is because I heard it so many times. So it's Borascus, Borrasca. Super interesting story. Essentially, every so often, there's a town in Missouri, I think it is, and sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's once a year. A sound up in the woods and mountains rings out where the whole town can hear, and then somebody disappears. A town member disappears, and it follows 3 friends who essentially embark on a journey to find out what is going on. And it's really dark, actually. It's very entertaining, but I wouldn't call it a super fun listen.
Okay.
So it's very well done, though. And I'm not sure if I said this on the last one, but they give a little context in the beginning of each episode. It's you're going to hear noises from behind you, in front of you, all around you, and they're going to be weird noises. So don't be operating heavy machinery, and it's 100% that way. It's there's a lot of sound editing that goes into this, and it's really cool. So that's going to be my recommend for the week, Borascus.
Excellent.
Yeah. Braska. It's Borasca. They call it Borascus in a different context. Okay, I'm putting it together now. So it's Borrasca.
Okay.
Yes, there we go. That's my recommend from Q Code.
Excellent. Excellent.
So Sam, we got Green Knight next week. The Green Knight. But until then, where can I find you on Letterboxd?
If you're looking, you can find me on letterboxd.com/sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will?
You can find me on Letterboxd at Will Spalding, and find us with Sam as the old man on the beach.
That's right.
And you can also find us at anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds and thosefilmnerds.weebly.com and thosefilmnerds on all podcast platforms and YouTube and at thosefilmnerds@gmail.com and then Instagram as well. And with all of that being said, Sam, until next week.
Keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.